Hello everyone, it's Laura Brazil of Mind Over Muscle, and today we are doing a stretch for our hamstrings. This is part of the Hips for Walking series and hips and upper legs, right? So we talked about the hamstrings and the lateral hips and the inner thighs being underused while we're walking. This is a common thing that I see with a lot of my students. Not everyone is underusing these parts, but a lot of times our alignment gets in the way of having full access to key pieces of our walking equipment. And the hamstrings is one of them. So we're going to do a hamstring strap stretch today. So I have a yoga strap. You don't need a yoga strap. You could use a long scarf or some tubing, some elastic tubing, or a belt. It's kind of nice for this one to not have it bounce. So if you have something that isn't elastic, that would be probably best. And let's get started. I'm going to have you lay on your back. Use whatever, if you've been following me, you likely know that you want to have something under your head and shoulders if necessary to help your rib cage and your core be in a neutral position. If you don't know what that means, you can check out the video I'll link in the notes of this movement tip. But you're going to take your strap and put it around the ball of your foot and then straighten both legs out again. You're going to bring the leg up, and I want you to notice a couple things here. One is that even though I could do something like this, which might make it look like I'm really flexible, you might see here that I've done a couple things to compensate for the lack of length in the back of my leg, in my hamstring. One of them is the bending of the knees. So if your knee, either on the leg you're not stretching or on the leg you're stretching, starts to bend, that's a sign that you're so tight that we have to have a knee bend. You're so tight in the hamstring that there has to be a knee bend or something going on somewhere else, so that you can make it look like you can really stretch far. So we're not going for appearances here. The other thing that I want to add in here is that if you find that your leg can go up and then your pelvis tilts, so notice that there's a knee bend here, but my pelvis is also tilting. So if you feel your low back push into the floor more than it already was, or arch off the floor more than it already was, then that's your endpoint. So for some people, hamstrings are so tight that this might be your endpoint without any of those spinal movements or knee movements. So just kind of meet yourself where you're at. So find that happy place where you can stretch. You've been there for a little while. Let's switch sides. So we're, again, wrapping that strap around the ball of the foot, not the arch. I like to start with the legs down so I don't bypass where my hamstring allows me to go. If I want to bring this up since I'm feeling this right now, I feel this stretch in my calf right now, not my hamstring. So that tells me that my calf is tighter than my hamstring. So if you are feeling that too, where you feel the stretch not in the hamstring, don't worry about it. It's okay. You're just probably tighter in a different part than the hamstring. So again, only go as far as whatever your tightest part will allow without the knee bending, either knee bending or the spine moving. Enjoy that stretch. And then let's get into, I added a couple pieces there to really allow you to feel how long the back of the leg is. Not letting the knees bend or the pelvis tilt or the spine move. But now I want to add in the hip alignment that I really want to focus on. So a lot of times we're not getting great access to our hamstrings during our walk, or not getting access to our, there's three hamstrings, three muscles that make up what is called the hamstring. So you might not be accessing all of those muscles and the fibers because of the hip alignment. So let's align our hip and do this same stretch. So I'm going to change the angle so you can see what I'm talking about here, but I'll put another link in the notes below about how to find your neutral hip position by using your knee pit. So this, if you need to go to that video, you can for a more detailed explanation. But basically, I want you to find the position where your knee, the tendon lines at the back of your knee, you have 2 on each leg, point straight down. All right? So once you have that general feeling, you can look at which way your feet are oriented. I'm purposely not showing you which way my feet are oriented because it doesn't matter, but it's likely your toes will not be pointed straight up at this time. So adjust yourself. Put the strap around the ball of the foot again, and get your knee pit to point straight down at the ground. You can look at the foot orientation like you looked at before, and then lift the leg. And so now I can't get up as far here, so I'm going to have to lose all the things I mentioned before to get my knee pit to point straight towards you and straight toward the camera right now. So this here, I can't go up as high because I'm tighter in the back of my leg in this orientation of my hip. So the knee pit pointing straight towards you allows me to stretch different muscle fibers here, which means that when we go into the strength for the hamstring in the movement tip next week, we'll be able to build strength in these areas as well. So you can feel, we did it the first time without noticing any alignment of the hip, just making sure that we're focusing on the back of the leg by not bending the knees, arching the back, moving the pelvis. And now we still do those things, no bending the knees, arching the back, but now we have the knee pits pointing straight out, which is a more biomechanically neutral hip. So it's likely you're going to feel this in a different spot than you were before. And if you find yourself tensing in the front of the hip, in the hip flexor, pretend I'm going to cut the strap that's holding your leg up. And if I were to cut the strap, your leg should just drop to the floor because your leg isn't doing any work here. It's the arms. All right, let's switch sides. So same thing, drop. I'm going to go back to the side view here. Put the strap around the ball of your foot. Orient your knee pit so it's facing down toward the ground. And if you have to lift up and feel for that, do so. And then lift only as high as you can without the knee bending. I have to go a little bit lower on this side. Again, in this orientation of my hip, because I'm not used to you having length, needing length in my hamstring and calf here. I could even lower a little bit more. It's pretty tight here in this orientation of the hip. So the first pass that we did, it's not that the orientation you were doing was bad. It's just probably the orientation your hip likes to be in. That's kind of like your default right now. And that's just a result of how you've moved your hip and how you sat, how you stood, how you've walked through the course of your life. And so sometimes the way that we move through life can make it so we can't access certain parts of our body when we need them. All right, let's lower on down. So that is the hamstring strap stretch with a more biomechanically neutral alignment in the hip joint. And I'd love to hear how it felt for you, so feel free to leave a comment below. And again, if you wanted help with finding what is that neutral knee pit, check out the links to my other movement tips below. All right, until next time, have a great day. Bye.